Hey guys, we're 1 minute into it, and we didn't really promote this webinar. So we might not see many people in the group here, but this gives the two of you, power users, a chance to kind of ask any questions that you guys have, and happy to show the complete walkthrough of how we can create the content using V12 and all the enhancements in there. So Clement, Raju, great to have you guys. I cannot pronounce the third name, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong, so I'm not going to say anything. We have a few more people joining in, but it's great. Okay. Hey, Clement. Hey, Raju. I see you. Good to see you, man. Can't really see you, but good to talk to you. You haven't been around for a while. Right. So great to have you guys. And let's do you guys have any questions? Did you guys get a chance to play around with it? What do you think about it? Any feedback at all? Happy to unmute yourself and talk if you'd like. I mean, we are a very tight crowd. Sarfraz works with Outranking, so he's there. Thanks. Cool, sounds good. So we are going to publish the whole library for how for everything that you can do in the editor in the next hour right after this. It's being uploaded to YouTube right now, so I'll share that in the group. But I want to go through a complete demo of how you can create content now using Outranking, what's different, and if you guys have any questions, I'm sure that you would, or any suggestions at all, right, on how maybe we can improve this even further. Feel free to share this in the chat or unmute yourself and talk anytime you'd like. Any feedback, all feedback, very welcome. Okay, I'll share my screen. This is desktop one. Okay, we gotta resize this just a little. Great stuff. All right. And Clement, since like you've been using this for a while, right? And you probably have a process set up. So pick any question, right? Like, or pick any keyword that you think might be difficult for AI to create on other platforms. I'm happy to go through that particular keyword. These keywords are often stuff around products and concepts which are nuanced or new, right? And there's not much information out there. Those are the kind of concepts which are very difficult because you might have to go a little extra leg on it. Oh, there we go. MacBook Air review. Let's try that out. Okay, let's go through creating a new document. You can create 3 different types of documents also from the side panel. We'll use AI assisted writing. Oh, that did not paste the keyword, but we'll paste the keyword now. MacBook Air 15 review. Let's go ahead and create a new document. I'm surprised. I have no idea whether MacBook Air 15 review came out or not. So you could have totally tricked me into doing this, but I'm taking your word for it and saying that it might have came out. We're going to be writing reviews about that. Okay. All right. So here is the 5 titles that Outranking brought out. And we can go through this, but the point is to create an SEO optimized title and make sure that everything we do is SEO optimized, so we don't have to go back and review and revisit all of these things. So we need to target MacBook 15-inch and Air words in our title. So MacBook Air 15 review, the lightest 15 MacBook you can get. Okay, kind of like this. MacBook Air review, Apple's tiniest and lightest laptop. Let's see what we are missing out on here. So it's missing 15 inches. And you totally don't need to do this, right? Like we don't have to add this inches in here, but you can see that inches, inch, inch, and inch. So it only makes sense to add that in here. And make sure that we do this. Let me just change my microphone. Okay, all right. Okay, so we'll choose this title, but I want to really see whether it's optimized or not. And we can see that it's slightly bigger in terms of 60 characters, and that's why it's flagging this. But I'm totally okay. I don't need to have it under 60 characters as far as I have my most important terms in the first 60. I am okay, even if it gets cut off at the end or the lightest, I'm okay. So this is great. Let's close this out and we can go to our outline. And just kind of quick note over here, we're seeing that people are writing in present tense. It's analytical and critical of the tiniest and the lightest laptop. The point of view is sort of third person, right? So you want to keep this in mind. And when you're generating this content, you could potentially create your own style guides based on this repeated topics that you write. It's totally up to you, but I kind of like understanding what sort of point of view did I find. And often you'd find top 5, top 10 pages having a mixed tone. Some sentences are written in first person, some is written in second, some is in third. But it's possible that you can have a mixed tone, and which is what I'd recommend, right? Like certain topics, it's your personal experience, and it needs to be in a certain voice. But most I've seen on the web are a mix of all. So let's go and generate our outline. So for V12, we did make significant improvements in the first structure of the outline. So it should build out very specific to the review type of post that you'd want to make. But mind it, this outline, they're still very extensive and in no form or way complete, right? You might need to add more, you might need to delete a lot more out of it and keep only what's super important. But it is important to understand that these are not complete, and it can have things that which you might not need, right? And that's okay. We can delete those out and move on. Okay. So this is why did it say cynical and critical? So it read through some. Okay, I see what you mean. In the title, why did it say analytical and critical, right? So yes, this is based on SERP. We're reading the top 3 pages to kind of understand what is the common tone between the first few paragraphs of each of these topics. And then based on that, we're analyzing and assessing that, okay, this sort of is the tone of writing that we found in the ranking pages. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our outlines. And I want to look at quickly the features. There's graphics, performance, battery life, security. Okay, this is good. MacBook Air performance again, right? Like typing notes, reminder, photos, blah, blah, blah. So I could keep either one of these. And I see some of these things are not relevant. No touch ID. Okay, all right. So this cons is good. This pros is good. Who is it for is good. And we're going to delete this. We're going to delete performance, battery life, and design as well. Okay, all right. So I think this sort of qualifies to be a good structure for the post that I am trying to create. From at least from my experience, right? I want to write what this MacBook Air 15-inch is in sort of an overview. Then I want to mention its features. Then I want to also mention its pricing, probably go into details because it might have different variants of that MacBook as well. Then I want to go for prose. I want to write about some cons to it and this, right? So this is great. This will not have anything inside. This will have a few things. So now we can start checking all of our SERPs. 50-inch feeling, numbers, benchmarks, right? We might want to talk about benchmark. And you could very well take this into performance or something of that sort. But we can also add this maybe in here. And you can change that later on. Keep going, right? And you can see that some of these features are great. Like you want to talk about ports, you want to talk about design, and stuff like that, right? So feel free to add those in. Probably add it here. Right, like this is probably one of the more important things. So we can rewrite this later on. But the point is to create a comprehensive outlines, and we see that we have pros, tons of it over here, some cons, tons of it. And again, you might want to adjust this and not just go blindly. So based on that, let's say we have a decent outline over here that has all the strength that we need. If you want to optimize this a little further, we can go and look at some of the keywords that other people are ranking for with this particular. So not a tons and tons of semantic or related variations on this, but we still have 3 semantic variations that we're already targeting. And likely if you're targeting 1, you're targeting all 3. So this is good. Let's close this out. And now we can go to our writing tools. All right. So in the reason why we created this writing tools is many people have a very different approach to writing. Some portions that they write themselves, some portions are written by AI, a mix of both, or you'd want to put certain concepts together and maybe work with both, right? So or you want to feed in your custom background data. It could be many use cases, and you can fulfill all of those use cases from this particular screen without having to go back and forth and things of that nature. Okay, the first step for generating a first draft is prompt. And the reason why we are breaking out it into prompts is because the expectation of a writer when the first draft is generated from person to person is very, very, very different. Your writing style might be amazing. To someone else, it could not be that great, right? And vice versa. And what you might qualify this as okay, someone might be very critical of that, right? So and this is one of the main reasons why you need to have the ability to maybe make some adjustments prior to generating the prompt, so your content is very well written, or at least it's written close enough to what you'd expect the AI to give you based on your expectations, right? Not a general set of rules. So we need to generate the prompts, and we recommend that you can generate prompts using the default style guide that we have already added. But let's say for someone like Raju, maybe you're writing a very specific style of of blog pages based on tech. And you must be having a repeatable process on how you want to approach to this topics, right? Once you have an outline. You might only want to mention, 5 cons or 3 cons per topic. Your steps are structured in a particular way. You probably provide an expert tip at the end of a particular type of section. You write in UK English, right? And all of these things they tremendously affect the first draft and the kind of headbanging you'd have to do once a draft has generated and it does not fit your style guide. That is when you have to make the major amount of changes, right? So that's why we added a style guide, which anybody can adapt, and you can add your own set of instructions. The more clearly you'd add your instructions, the better the prompts will be and more aligned they will be with your instructions. So let me pause just here, and I want to take a few questions. Yes, absolutely. I will get there, Bob, in where the AI characters get there and how you can utilize this and how you can reduce some of these things. all the videos related to this training in extremely detailed manner should have been uploaded right now on YouTube. I'd probably have to push the button and make them live, but they will go right out. They'll go up right after this, and you should be able to also find this in your dashboard today. Okay, but we'll get to Bob where you are. Okay, so we still haven't generated the prompts yet, right? And we can generate the prompt, but I want to show what the style guide is and how you can manage the expectation going into generating your first draft if you want to build this repeatable process. So let's click on style guide. This is our default style guide. You can add your own. And we can say UK English, right? You can see these are the setups. These are some set of instructions that we have put in over here in form of a style guide. And how you'd really instruct the AI in giving you those detailed set of instructions that you can use in order to build these repeatable answers. So if you're writing in professional yet witty tone, most of the time, or let's say you have a local pages that you write and local landing pages you write, and you write blogs for local businesses as well, right? And they both follow similar pattern. You have an agency, 9,000 clients. How do you manage this, right? You can create these two sets of different templates. One template specific to one template specific to the service pages or landing pages, and the other specific to your blog pages. So let's close this out and I'll show you where I got this from. So when you go here, there's a style guide setting. You can click here and you can click on add and you will come to this pop-up. Did you get that, Raju? Okay, all right. Now I can copy this instructions and paste it in here just like that before, and I'm clearly mentioning it. What sort of tone do I want to write in? What sort of voice do I want to use? What sort of English do I want to use? Whether I want to use English at all or not, or you can just put language over here and it will use that. You could say how I want to write a subsection, how I want to approach to a subsection, right? And I want to always write 2-sentence summary, a hook, overview, or argumentation or introduction, very start. How do I write product alternatives? And I kind of mentioned it. I always want to write 2-sentence alternative, mentioning why is it an alternative, an unordered list of top features, an expanded ordered list of 5 pros, an expanded ordered list of 5 cons, and pricing, and when possible, a comparison table. This is very great set of instructions, right? Like you have decided on how you are going to be writing a post where there's product alternative. And if you write this sort of sentence or you modify this, when the AI is building out the prompts, it can read this set of instructions and build out prompts that align with this so that you have a repeatable process when you're generating a first draft. Same thing, right? Like you can write how to write best or top products, how long each subsection you want this to be. Then, for example, this is a very great example that I described in the video that I published as well on YouTube, or will be publishing right after this, is let's say you are a travel blogger and you write about hiking in Connecticut, hiking in Boston, hiking in all of these places, right? And you only write about top 10 hikes in a particular area, which Bob might also do, right? Like top 10 things to see in maybe one location, second location, or something like that. So what you can do is you can say that when you're writing about a hike, I want you to create a table with the attributes of elevation, temperature, things to bring, suitable for dog friendly or not, and a few things like that. Now this is where the magic happens, is when you select that template and you run the prompt, it's going to generate prompts that will have all those attributes and a way of asking the AI to write that when it's built out. So this comes super handy when you want to build a repeatable process. And yet you want to have some sort of control over editing it, changing it, right? So if there's a couple of things that you wanted to change, you could change it and save it, or you can create a new template and save it as well. So let's go ahead and I will not save this. It's not vetted out. I still like it more detailed, and you can add as many as 20, 30 points to it. And this is on trained models, right? So it is learning and it is improving. And as well as we are vetting out using humans to qualify which data is good and which is not. So this is an amazing feature that can help you build a repeatable process. Let's go ahead and close this out. I will use the style guide as default that I currently have, and we'll generate the prompts. Okay, we'll take a couple of seconds doing all the thinking. We approximately have quite a few sections, actually. There is no priority order, Bob, for the style guide. What I'd like, don't don't put stuff in your style guide that you're going to use maybe once or twice. It's for repeatable processes, right? So yes, you can add a set of 20, 30, 40 instructions, but then the AI has to choose which ones to really pick if they are, not really distinct. So you want to only add distinct ideas in your style guide and make sure that it's as concise as possible, and not repeating the same concepts in different way, which people often tend to do when you're trying to write very concise info. It's often difficult to write a few words than it is to write 100 words. I'd say so. Be as concise as possible. Okay, all right. So introduction to MacBook, right? An engaging introduction to MacBook. That's exactly what it's like. Introduction highlights with key selling points as Apple's thinnest and lightest. Use a conversational tone. Address the reader directly in second person. So our style guide is second person. Start with a 2-sentence summary or a hook to grab the reader's attention, followed by an overview of the laptop. Keep the introduction concise, informative, not exceeding 120 characters, 120 words, right? This is based on our style guide. And our style guide is like super extensive with 37 points approximately, right? So you can understand that it's going to try its best to maintain that structure and adapt to the kind of topic that you are writing automatically. But for your use case, if you have a specific type of post that you write and you can build a specific style guide on it, it can give you even crazier outputs just the way you want it. Okay, so this is it, right? Like there's tons of information. We're not going to go and modify this, but if for some reason an introduction, you don't want to mention the reader as second person, and you want to change this to second person or a first person, you can. You can also check the background data on where did we find the information from, right? And you can see there's like tons and tons of information here from just one URL, so it was sufficient. But many sections you'd find 2 or up to 10 URLs. This one has 4. So there is some background data to it. And to the point where you see here that it's going to consume up to 200,000 AI characters, right? It's telling you that most of your AI characters are in your background data. So if you have the time to go and vet this out and delete this, so be it. You'll save on some extra characters, right? But reading through about 35 sections and deleting stuff, it's going to take you half an hour. If you're trying to delete half an hour or even more, if you're trying to delete stuff that's actually workable, right? And being that very thorough. But if you don't have the luxury of time and you want to speed past this, right, you can leave the content as is and just generate the first draft from it. So it's time saving versus cost. You have to balance this out. Now let's generate the first draft. So at any point in time, you feel like you want to, you can, but then you'll only, so Julie's saying, so maybe dump an extra long background data into Chat GPT and have it summarize. Yeah, that's like, how much time would you spend there? So you'd copy it from here, you'd go there, you'd write summarize or TLDR and type it. It will generate the answer, then you'll copy it and you'll bring it back over here. It's the amount of time. and the hassle. And when you have to do it with times 30, that is going to add into approximately 1 hour more into your work, right? Because it's about 1 minute. You are going to copy the content. You're going to open up Chat GPT. Maybe you have two windows lined up with each other. You ask it to summarize, is going to summarize. But when you summarize, you leave out some very important elements out of it. So again, your data is not complete. It's summarized. And you don't want to be writing based on summaries, right? Because then you still have to do the additional research on how that summary was built out. So it's totally up to you. Wherever you find the right balance and cost saving versus time saving, you can opt for that. But if you're just going with it, which is what I recommend, right? Like time is money, and for so in approximate hour of a writers, it's even in some of the other parts of the world is maybe $10 to $15 at minimum. You come to US, UK, and some of the other areas, and they can go up to 150, 200, 250, depending on the topic, right? So it's totally up to you whether it makes sense to save 30 minutes on doing this manual, 30 minutes to an hour doing this process, or it makes sense to just speed pass through this and generate the first draft and then go from there. Okay, let's generate the first draft. And it's 43 sections, so I'm not going to wait for it to write 43 sections, but we'll see 43 sections. So I'm expecting a draft of about 5,500 words, approximately. And that's 5,500 words, or maybe 6,000. If you want to narrow it down, shorter outlines will definitely work, but it's not going to give us a crazy amount of words like it used to, right? And it used to, because we used to use Chat GPT, and Chat GPT is it writes poor content in our opinion. Chat GPT is not the greatest writing tool. Might be a little creative. You can run some ideas by and things like that, but for writing really good information, it's writing about 2 paragraphs. It's keeping it short, right? Like 2 to 3 sentences per paragraph. All of that is a part of the style guide, and hence it's trying to maintain that. So introduction is not created automatic. Okay, so the introduction that's created. Okay, there we go. I think that's phenomenal from what I can see here. I'd probably break the sentences out and just kind of tab them out, but this is very good. So we see that it wrote about 9 sections, right? And that's approximately 1,100 words, 11 sections, and it's about 1,200 words, right? So you can expect anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 words being printed from this. And so, Julie, yes, it got some personality. What I'm trying to say is that once you watch the replay of this, if you joined a little later on, you'll see you can create your own personality, and that is the best part of this version. So, yep, 14 to it, and we are still here. So, 11 sections, 1,200 words. How many characters did you use out of curiosity? So I have, like, how many characters did we use? It's about 10,000 characters on generation, but you must have used a lot in your background data. And that's why we said the approximate consumption would be anywhere from 149 to, I believe, 194 or 175 to 194. That's what we predicted. It's going to generate. It usually generates just a little less than that. We're trying to give you more, so you have sufficient amount remaining and the draft doesn't stop halfway through. But yeah, it usually consumes a little less than that. But the reason why it's consuming more is because I explained this, right? It's input, output, plus prompts and training data. Training data we've not even discounted, right? So if you gather all of that, it would take this many characters. So imagine the 4 URLs where we got the data from, if you were to do this manually, how much would it consume even if you were using your own API? Okay, you would go to this 3, 4, 5 pages. If you have a tool, you'd be able to do this right away. But let's say you have this set of information from 4 pages, which is approximately going to be 2,000 or 1,500 words, right? Now, 1,500 words times characters, you can make it, it's approximately 5,000 characters for each section that you are adding background data to. So the more sections you have, the more background data there is, right? So the cost is really the background data. Without that background data, the stuff that you get is not going to be factual, or it's not going to be that accurate or detailed. So again, right, like if you care about creativity and saving creativity, feel free to delete the background data and will not use any facts. But that's not what we want to do, right? And hence, this background data is super essential to keep the AI in check and make sure that it covers everything comprehensively and more precise, as precisely as possible, but more comprehensively. And the more sources we have, it's better. I'd probably go with the 10 sources if I could feed all that data in and make it still viable. We're still doing it only from up to 8 sources per topic, where we find some thin information or dense information, depending on that. But you can imagine there's tons and tons of background data that makes up for the main cost of this. And then again, the prompts that we generated, each of those prompts were like 300 characters or more. And when you have 30, 40, 50, right? Like that adds to it as well. So yeah, think about this as that. And that's how we came about that. So 33 sections in, and we can see the word count is still perfect, just according to how I'd want it. This is great. That is on our radar. We are going to have a stop button that will allow you to stop it. But if you currently want to stop it, there is a way, and this is a bypass. But I'll show you how to do this. Just click on save so you don't lose anything that's unsaved, and just refresh the page. And it will stop where you got it from. Okay. So it generated the draft, right? Like I said, it was 156 to 195. It would have consumed approximately that. It just did not build out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 as a conclusion. 7 sections, right? But you can see that it's right around 3,700 words. So it'll probably be around 4,500 words for the 47 sections that we were generating. That's just perfect. Okay, so once you have that, any questions here before I show some other things? Any more questions, guys? I see many of you joined afterwards, and there's tons of people now here. And if you guys have any questions, you missed out on anything, happy to show that again. Yep. Everyone, you guys, you should have access to the chat panel. You can put all your questions in there, or you can unmute yourself and just ask the question right away. Before I go to this next step, I want to make sure that everyone understands up till this point in time. Great, no questions so far. We can come back to this. If there is any more questions that come up, I'm happy to go back and revisit this. Okay, all right. So I want to show a couple of more functionalities, and we'll run the plagiarism checker right now, and we'll come back to it once it's done. I'll show a couple of more features while it's doing this. So let's understand what the plagiarism checker is doing. The plagiarism checker is not copyscape, and it's way beyond that. What this is doing, this is also recognizing sort of the information that you have written that are a little different, or maybe, like not exactly the same, but there's only a little variation to it, and it might be considered or be captured as plagiarism issues, we get those as well. And the way this is consuming is 250 characters per one assessment credits. And assessment credits are super cheap to purchase. And they roll over, so you can just purchase them one and cancel it and use it throughout the year if you'd like. And you can use this assessment credits for many things, for running, for getting background data using queries, for running plagiarism scans, for creating domain projects and clustering, a lot of other things. Okay, let's start the plagiarism scan. And this literally takes a couple of minutes because it's doing a really deep scan. So we have to come back to it. But what I want to show is for topics where you don't get an introduction, how do you write an introduction, right? So we really want to make users go towards writing prompts and being better at prompts. So in order to write introduction, you can type it into the prompt over here and ask it to write introduction, or you can directly type it in directly type it in the editor by adding an arrow and saying, really don't. I'm making up something, right? Like this is crappy introduction prompt, but then you can run the prompt and it will write the prompt in a couple of seconds right here. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. So it did some background data as well, and it kind of understood the concept behind it. And so then it wrote the answer over here. You can see that we did find some base information around what we want to write over here. And we use that to kind of understand the core subject of this before writing the introduction. And then it wrote the introduction. So you can also use this, or you can directly type it in. They both work similarly. And this works more like ChatGPT, but this is using ChatGPT 4 as the real engine. Okay, let's go back to plagiarism. It's still running it, and it'll take a couple of seconds. It really does take a lot of time to load the plagiarism. Prompt templates are still there. You can click on templates and you can add your own templates if you wanted to. Yeah, like you can name it as well. Like now there's edit, so you can name your prompts and you can save those prompt templates. We could. That would be a good idea to create a community prompt bank. We're working on something like that for prompts, the issue is like you need to have a vetting system, otherwise you will get all sorts of things, right? And then you'd probably want to do upward and downward and have some quality assurance to it, right? Like that's one of the problems because then it can directly impact how a user perceives the product. So we want to be mindful of that, but we'll definitely are working on something like that. So all right. Our plagiarism checker ran and it generated the prompt, and you can see, even though we used so much of background data, the plagiarism came back with an insanely good number. If you want to see what are some of the minor changes, which is like very minimum, you will be able to see like, okay, so this sentence has probably a minor change to that. Yep, look at that. Like, so this is being met and things of that nature, right? So now let's say if you wanted to fix even this, right? Like I wouldn't even worry if it was less than like 5-7%. I don't care. I don't care much if it was less than that. But if you wanted to rewrite this one at a time, you can use this improve or rewrite feature, and it will rewrite this, make it more concise. Or make it different, right? And then it would not be plagiarism issue. Like you can see that it went away. You can also click on fix plagiarism, and it can go and rewrite all the sentences one by one, right? Your screen will be, you won't be able to use your editor for a few seconds there, but it will go and rewrite each of those individual sentences where we found any sort of duplicate issues at all. And it does a very good job in doing this, and everything is using ChatGPT-4. So it's even more powerful. Okay, now that's pretty much it when you're done here. And we can go to optimization. You can go to optimization from right here. And this was the first step generated with not all the sections finished, right? And we need to target 84. It's already at 76. I already know what I need to do in order to improve the score, which is add some images, internal links. I could improve the uniqueness, but in order for me to improve the uniqueness, I really want to visualize the SERPs and see what competition is doing in terms of uniqueness. So let's remove the word count. Let's remove the PEA. And we can see the kind of uniqueness that majority of these pages have is between 8 and 6. Mine is currently at 4. I would try to add more unique value to this content, bring something new to the table that hasn't been introduced here, maybe write some, maybe capture some reviews from somewhere, or things like that, right? And then include this as part of my content. So that's the part where you add value. Uniqueness cannot be found because you have to create that uniqueness. And it's going to be increasingly important. Let's look at this. So which page has the lowest amount of page authority? This 17th page over here, it only has a PA of 1 when it comes to MacBook Air 15, right? This tells me that despite of that page not being authoritative, is ranking in the top 20. This is a second example where PA is 9, right? Like deep. And you can see the uniqueness for this page is 7, this page even lower, and it is 10%. That means there is some net new information on this page that was not could not be found on other pages related to this topic, right? And you can see how clearly this is benefiting this. Like you can see this repeatedly in many of the in many of the posts that you write, and that's why these charts are for, to kind of give you an understanding of where you need to be in order to target that. So we need to go at least between 4 and 10, and we are leaning towards going 10 for the uniqueness. Okay, you can check scores, you can check backlinks as well over here. Okay, and I see that many pages with not so, there are many pages in top 10 with no backlinks, one with only 13, right? Like most of them could be spammy, so it doesn't really matter. But the backlink profile for this particular keyword isn't that great besides that first particular page. So which is going to be a little tough for you, but you can understand that you can still get into the top 3 or a top 10. All right. Now I want to see how I can improve the score, right? And most people start with NLP terms. It's not my style. I don't directly go into NLP terms. I'll finish everything else and then go into NLP terms. But let's understand NLP terms over here. The gray ones means most important, which means that we found this on repeated basis in most of the pages that we looked at. Yellow means we found overlaps in many of the pages, but not all or significant amount of pages. That means many pages are talking about cons, but not really, not all pages are talking about cons. This is almost all pages are talking about cons. And this is their typical range. And you can see how this keyword has been used by clicking on here. But if you'd like a more visual representation, you can click on term map and then scroll down and kind of see how people are using these keywords, what places, right? And you can see that like, as you go down, it'll be more scare and scare. And that's how we prioritize them. Let's close this out. And let's close this out. And I will go to this optimization touch just once because you guys have already seen this. I don't need to go over this. But this gives you a total breakdown of your score, everything from uniqueness, statistics table, list, and all of that into account if you want a more task-based style breakdown, then you can go to this. So you are only focused on task and finishing those tasks, and you should have a good score. Great. I see there are a few questions in the writing tool. So I'm going to go back to the writing tool and we'll address those questions. When there's background data in the box, is that the only information that AI is pulling from to write the section? Everything on the net outside the background box is excluded? Of course, you have to exclude it. Otherwise, so the way we are doing this, and the reason why like this is so awesome is because when I'm writing about MacBook, let's open this up. And I'm writing about the tiniest and the lightest laptop, Apple, or the most powerful processor. In this particular case, I don't want to be reading everything. If I read everything, then I'm going to be talking about everything. So what we do is that we analyze all the pages using, again, OpenAI embeddings, which is not even considered as part of this character deduction. But what we do is we find semantically related information from the pages that we read and only pull out the sections which are semantically talking about or are talking about the most powerful or talking about the processor when it comes to Apple. And that is why when you open this up and you see the details in background data, it's going to be talking about processors and cores and things like that. Like this did not performance, right? Like, so again, like processor and the dense information is all about processors. If I was to talk about design and how light it was in aluminum and blah, 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 in almost all of these sections, then that is going to be insane. So we are already doing this job, so you don't have to do this. The research is free, like we're giving the research for free. But if you want to use that research for generating AI, then it costs money. Yes, you can. So based on Raju's question, can you manually add background data, both text and URL? So yes, you can add manually. After the prompts has been generated, you can manually add data, but the prompts will be generated. And only then you can add the manual data, because you might want to use certain things that we pulled in, and you might want to mix it with certain things you have. So you can do that. You can delete this. You can add your own information as text. Now, how do you add URLs? You've been absent for a very long time, Raju. Go in Outline, and this needs to be before you generate the prompts. Otherwise, it's not going to include those URLs as part of this, because we do tons and tons of work in building the embedding files, and it's a very heavy process that we do in order to do the semantic search. So what you need to do is go to add URL background data, and you can add this. Got it. Okay. So you're talking about when you're writing prompts. This prompt right here. Yes, absolutely. Background research. You can add your own background research. If you don't, then we will pull out our own. So type it in, and let's go to template, right? Like even templates are even to another level. So you can use, if you want to do some automation with templates as well, for creating prompts, you can use this ready-made controls. So we can pull in that data automatically into it, and you can run this prompt, right? So I'm just going to click here. Let's go to templates, and I'll add this, right? And you can see that it added a certain elements to it, or blah, blah, right? Like it wrote that, okay, we're going to write a table with this information. And if you want to change the background data for this prompt, you can click here, add your own. So we'll not go find it. But if you don't add yours, then we'll go find it. This is not like ChatGPT, where they'll not look at it unless you tell them to look at it, a certain source. We will find sources regardless. Like it's all factual based, right? So it's not for creative purposes, but it's for writing factually research information. So that's the only difference over here. But yes, you can absolutely do this. All right. Any more questions around this? Okay. All right, there goes. With the style guides, can I add or force the style guide to write FAQ sections like Google snippet? Yeah, our default template really does that automatically. And I can show you that how it does that. We've taken into a lot of these SEO aspects into the writing, a style guide that we have created, but I can show you an example of how it does it. So let's say what is Air 15. Okay, this is sort of a definition type answer that you'd have, right? Like you're writing what is MacBook Pro. It could be what is keyword density, or it could be reasons why something is this particular way, right? Like, but it's a very short answer that you'd give. So what I can do is, you see that I added another H2 and automatically this like changed to regenerate prompts. So you want to regenerate all the prompts, or you want to generate the missing prompts only. That way will only generate the missing prompts. This is also a very insane feature where if you decided that you wanted to add new outlines to it and you just wanted to generate it again, or regenerate the whole thing after you realize that you messed up using a style guide, you can regenerate those prompts or generate only the missing ones. I'll generate the missing one. It'll take a few seconds. It's just one prompt that we have to rebuild. Okay, so it probably built it out and still loading. Okay. All right, look at this. And write a brief definition of MacBook Air 15 in less than 350 characters, which is what feature snippet we recommended. And many of you rank you for feature snippets using that, or your FAQ should be written that way as well. Ensure the primary keyword is in the first sentence, include an example of it to use or a unique feature that sets it apart, mention neutral tone, use the second person's voice to address the audience. Keep the entire answer concise and to the point. It does this automatically. But if you wanted to write it in a different way and say not 350 characters, but I want to use 500 characters, and I want to always mention a list or expert tip or something like that, feel free to define that in your own style guide. Absolutely. Got it. Okay. Any more questions around writing? Wow, there's a lot of questions over here, and this is great. I will upload this demonstration right after this, so everyone gets it. It might take another 10 minutes to process it, and along with all the videos that we prepared for you guys for understanding style guide and the new process on YouTube. Any more questions? We still have about 5 minutes. And I'm sure many of you guys are power users, have been using the product for a very long time. But any more questions, and feel free to drop it in. I do want to mention that we're running add-on deal for the next couple of days where you can either front load the entire 12 months of characters for even higher discount at once on AI characters, or it's $49 a month for 2 million characters. It should give you 2 million characters should approximately give you about a 10 to 11 blog posts, 10 to 13 blog posts, depending on how long they are or short they are. And this is really bargain because ChatGPT is not free. If you were to do this yourself, it would cost closely to that number, plus a lot of time you'd put that doing manual data entries and stuff like that. So consider that. And yep, that's about it. The email for that goes out later today as well. But that's it from me. Here it is. How much are you estimating 2 million characters gets you in an article again? Up anywhere from 10 to 14. Like you can go 10 to 15 as well. If your articles are not as long as the one that I just created, you can go more. But if you have the ones that like I created right now, you can expect 10, because this is like literally 4,500 words. It's going to be, but most outlines are around like 25 to 30. I'd expect you to easily get to about 12 to 14 from that. So that's like real bargain, like less than $4 or about $4 per topic. That's unbeatable for the quality that you get currently. Yeah, not to mention surfers, 29 per topic. All right, great. That's it for today. Thank you all for coming, and we will post this shortly after. And good luck playing with Outranking. Take care, guys.